Good afternoon, traders and investors. Will back here with another one, coming to you with a Tuesday market recap. Hope everybody had a very good day of trading. And in today's markets, guys, we had another mixed day of trading. Yes, the S&P 500 and the QQQs ended in the green. However, on the S&P, there were a lot more names that were red than green. Rotation does still appear to be healthy, but it could just be time for a little bit of a pullback on the S&P and maybe even the QQQs. And another news today, well, we did have one macro news event that was taking course over the course of the morning this morning, and that was U.S. Chair Jerome Powell testifying in front of Congress. Very, very interesting session, guys. It got a little bit spicy, so I'm going to play you a clip of an interaction between Senator Elizabeth Warren and Jerome Powell, just to give you guys a little bit of a glimpse into how these testimonials in front of Congress goes. Jerome Powell does this twice a year, and he absolutely hates it. So that's pretty much everything for your macro news. In other news as well, guys, this week for earnings, of course, our bank earnings starting on Friday. So that's probably going to be the most important day on Friday for our first batch of earnings releases from a lot of your major banks. And obviously, guys, we do have the CPI report coming in on Thursday just before that. So Thursday and Friday set to be the two largest days for trade, and maybe be some days in which we have some increased volatility in the markets. So in today's video, guys, we're going to play that quick little recap of Jerome Powell versus Elizabeth Warren in the Congress testimonial. Then we're going to go into our major technical analysis rundown in terms of our major market indexes, then our big tech names, and that will pretty much be it. I did make a few new trades in the portfolio today, but I'll give you guys a larger recap tomorrow, as most likely I'll readjust a lot more positions tomorrow as well. And those portfolio updates sometimes take between 7 to 10 minutes. So just in order to keep the video a bit shorter today, we are going to do the portfolio update tomorrow, but let you guys know throughout the video if I do see some nice opportunities today. So that being said, guys, let's get right into today's video. SPY up about 0.10% and the QQQs up a 0.09%, etching out some gains. Had some decent rotation in financials and healthcare, which are kind of being left behind over the past couple of days of trade. So nice to see them pick it a little bit up. Now, in terms of your S&P performance, guys, very, very mixed heat map once again, right? A lot of software plays were down, inclusive of Microsoft, Apple, Google, Meta, not performing too bad. Tesla, another almost 4% day, and Nvidia really carrying the charge for semiconductors. Most of your semiconductor names today, guys, were pretty much down, except for just a few, and Nvidia, your market leader, just continues to churn to the upside. Financials, very healthy. Healthcare, very healthy, no pun intended there as well. And on the bottom half of the market, guys, very, very, very mixed day to say the least, right? You can see that best when we take a look at your components up versus down. This line right here, 201 up on the SPY and 299 down. So definitely a majority of the market was to the downside. You can see that best expressed in your one-day bar chart performance, guys. Half the market to the upside, but a lot of downside as well, especially in energy, basic materials, and industrials. On the 1 week, though, everything still looks very, very good, guys. Everything except for energy pretty much has been putting in gains for the last week. So market rotation definitely healthy. When we take a little bit of a zoom out here on the 1 week, it's getting better, guys. The breadth is getting incrementally better every single day that we advance in our trading. And on the 1 month, guys, you can see the lack of breadth from the early part of last month still plaguing the markets a little bit more. But as you can see on the 1 week, it is getting a little bit better as this bull rally moves on. So before we get into more technicals, guys, let's take a quick look at a face-off between Jerome Powell and Elizabeth Warren. They are talking about pretty much some of the fail-safes that the Federal Reserve has put in place to keep the major banks in check since 2008. So let's have a little bit of a listen.
Now, in 2018, you told this committee, Mr. Chairman, that you, quote, expect that banks will have in place compensation plans that do not provide incentives for excessive risk-taking. In other words, you trusted the banks to write their own rules. So let's see if they actually have. One thing the proposal would do is require big banks to delay bonuses for a broad group of critical employees who are able to gamble with the bank's finances, like the head of a trading desk, for example. Chair Powell, in the 6.5 years since you said trust the banks to regulate themselves, how many of the 10 biggest banks have put policies in place to delay annual bonuses for this broader group of critical employees whose risk-taking could endanger the bank?
I don't know specifically. My guess is all of them. Since the financial crisis.
You're the regulator who said trust the banks to self-regulate so we can avoid another financial meltdown or another bailout. And you don't know if they did or didn't do that?
Well, it's a very, very specific,
Yeah,
narrow
it is a
question
very
you're
specific
asking
thing,
about.
because it's something a regulator should do. You think the answer is 10 out of 10? The answer is 0 out of 10.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Well, go back and look, because we've looked at their statements on this. Another thing the proposed rule would do is require the banks to consider flat out banning bonuses and bonus pay for executives who took risks that threatened the stability of the bank. So let me ask you this one, Chair Powell, in the 6.5 years since you said trust the banks to regulate themselves, how many of the 10 biggest banks now have policies that would require them to flat out deny bonuses to executives that have engaged in inappropriate risk-taking?
Good question.
I don't know the answer to that. By the way, I never said trust the banks to regulate themselves.
I'm sorry, do you want me to go back and quote you again exactly?
Trust the banks to regulate themselves?
When you say, I expect that the banks will have in place compensation plans that do not provide incentives for excessive risk-taking.
Right,
I
pursuant to
take that as-
the guidance that we issued in 2010, which is quite
And you
detailed.
have not issued a guidance since you made these comments, since you became chair.
So guys, that was pretty much a little excerpt from today's congressional meeting with Jerome Powell. As you can see, sometimes it gets pretty spicy, and Jerome Powell seemed to be a little bit annoyed at being pressed by this question. But in all fairness, guys, Elizabeth Warren was asking some decent questions about the bank's bonuses and whether or not they would continue to pay them if those banks were caught market making in terms of suspicious activity, right? So that's pretty much everything for your recap on the testimonial today. Nothing new was said by Jerome Powell. He was obviously asked many questions about inflation, the economy, and the jobs market, and he's been giving the exact same answer for the past 6 months at this point. The economy is strong, the jobs market is still relatively tight, and also inflation is currently on a nice little downtrend. So no new news there, but I figured I should show you guys a little bit of the entertainment value that sometimes comes out of these meetings. Very, very interesting to say the least. So guys, that's pretty much everything. Now let's jump right into our technical analysis portion of the video. And not much has changed, although we may be expecting a little bit of a pullback here, guys. Completely normal price action, in my opinion. Take a look here. We've now lost the 12 EMA on the 1 hour chart. And if we do put in a lower low than today's lows, that would be your first official hourly downtrend in the last 5 days of trading, and could pretty much kick us off for a little bit of a pullback. But the bulls have tons of space, guys. Beautiful daily uptrend. Just looking for a daily higher low. Anything above these lows right here, 543. Looking for that daily higher low for further trend continuation. Perfect area to be potentially bouncing off of right there. Previous resistance, current support, and the 12 EMA on the daily chart is sitting right there. And even if we were to come undone here, guys, over the course of the week because of negative CPI, negative bank earnings, let's say, and we set up for the daily downtrend, just know that your weekly bulls are in absolute full control. Anything above 519, just gonna be looking for that weekly higher low in the event that we need more than a few days worth of pullback into a few weeks of pullback, potentially, right? Tons of space for your bulls. I see no red flags in these markets. Moving on to the QQQs right now, same analysis for the Qs. So beautiful daily uptrend, potentially looking for a little bit of a pullback here. Nice little green, red candle at the top. And here you can see a more significant pullback and a more significant loss of the 12 EMA, potentially, maybe even temporarily, right? It's all up to the bulls to protect this level tomorrow. 496.34. If we lose out on the Qs, hourly downtrend is set in motion, which then sets your daily consolidation phase in motion too. Previous support level, previous resistance, current support level right here, and the 12 EMA could be acting as a nice first touch location for the potential continuation of that daily uptrend. And even if we were to lose this here, guys, and end up in a daily downtrend, once again, negative CPI or negative bank earnings, we still do have a decent amount of space on the Qs before a higher low. 474 is going to be the area to watch in the event that the bulls need to pull back for more than just a few simple days. Now, moving on to financials. Financials finally trying to break above here, guys. Beautiful daily uptrend back in motion now, right? Setting higher highs today, so looking very, very good. Need to see the continuation of this trend expansion. In my opinion, once again, guys, it will rely on your credit cards. Take a look at your major banks that were having some good performance today. JP Morgan up 1.2% at the all-time highs, right? Wells Fargo Corporation having a decent day, 1.5%. close to its most recent highs as well. If you want me to pull up another one, let's pull up Bank of America. Bank of America having a very good day, 2%, pretty much putting in darn close to new 52-week highs as well. So looking very, very strong. Well, not darn close, but really etching above, right? The new 52-week highs looking good. The only ones that have been continuously underperforming that do represent a big weight within financials, guys, are Visa and MasterCard. Still kind of teetering at the lower levels right here. That's Visa, and here is MasterCard. So we really need to see their participation, in my opinion, to get more and more lift in the XLF Financials ETF. So we'll be watching that very closely over the next few days, reacting nicely off of your moving averages, right? Nice daily uptrend right now. As soon as this move is topped out, going to be looking for a daily higher low for further trend continuation. Would like to see them put in at least 1 to 2 more green days, create some space off of these lows right here. That way, if ever bank earnings are a bit worse than expected, at least we have some margin of error, right? Pulling back into this big resistance area that we're dealing with right now, maybe being able to use it as support before continuation of the rally. Really don't expect any bad things from bank earnings whatsoever, but more of the emphasis is going to be on their net interest income, of course, the major metric for any big bank. But all in all, financials looking pretty good leading into this bank earnings session. We have created a lot of space on the weekly as well to prevent any form of larger form drawdown. 40.41 is the spot on the weekly, and to bring us below that, guys, that is still another 3% to the downside. Not expecting any major moves before Friday, the day of earnings. Lastly, moving into healthcare finally starting to muster a little bit of a rally and now breaking back into the area that I wanted to get above. Previous area of support, now trying to get back above this location, trying to take back as much of this most recent leg of selling as humanly possible. Now, let's take a look at the size of the bounce here, guys, and the size of the bounce is getting adequate, to say the least, right? Not the best size bounce, but it is getting quite adequate, almost up to about 50% of the entire move. So that's looking very, very good. If we can get some further continuation up into maybe 145.50, 146, that would be a 618 retracement. Gives the bulls the best chance when that move is topped out to reset into a new daily uptrend and start attacking some of the higher levels again. All in all, the bounce on healthcare is looking pretty good, guys, and the weekly looking to still protect this weekly uptrend. Higher lows, right? Just now trying to push in to get back to these levels right here, 147, and start moving this continuation of the weekly uptrend ahead. Now, one of the healthcare names that I continuously like playing, guys, is AbbVie. AbbVie has been in a very nice location, and I've pointed this one out on the channel for a few weeks running, right? Trying to set up for the weekly higher low into the new weekly uptrend, using all of this as previous support, right? So looking very, very good to set a baseline of support before maybe a next leg higher. This company right here has some of the best fundamentals in all of healthcare, in my humble opinion, and the monthly uptrend continuation could be quite juicy. Now moving on to semiconductors. So semiconductors continuing their march forward, mostly led higher by NVIDIA. SMH as a whole, guys, has 25% of the entire weight in NVIDIA. So it's normal that even though most of your semiconductor names were down, the fact that NVIDIA was up 2.5% definitely helps push this ETF higher. So daily uptrend is still underway. Any pullback, guys, tons of space now for a pullback. Anything above 255.75, going to be looking for that daily higher low for further trend continuation. I would be targeting this area right about here, prior resistance of this range and newfound support, and also the 12 EMA is right there. Could be a little situation for a touch and go if ever the bulls need to gather a bit more momentum at the lower levels. No red flags immediately, in my humble opinion. And on the weekly, guys, weekly looking very, very strong as well. Weekly trend continuation, just looking for that break of 280 in terms of the all-time highs. No red flags on semiconductors just yet. I will let you know if ever there are some, but as of now, guys, looking to make some continuation plays, right? AMD is looking extremely strong for some potential continuation into the mid 180s and maybe even into the 190s as they look to get this weekly trend expansion going. We're going to go over more of their technicals later. Intel, obviously, too. Intel making a decent little push here over the past few days, looking for maybe that breakout and continuation trade. That is another one that I'm looking for potentially on deck. Another one that I'm looking for, guys, is ASML, same logic, looking for that daily trend breakout and the weekly trend breakout as well of the all-time highs. Gorgeous continuation and gorgeous monthly long-term bull control on ASML. And the last one I'm looking for in semiconductors, guys, there's a number of them. ON Semiconductors, with the resurgence of interest into EVs led by the rally in Tesla, could be looking for a potential breakout on ON Semiconductor as well, reacting very nicely from our previous area of support. So maybe just a question of time, right? We've been range bound down here for seemingly about almost 9 months at this point, right? So could be a juicy opportunity to pick some bottoms. That's just a few names that I'm looking at in the entire semiconductor industry. Now let's move on to IWM Russell. So IWM Russell still doing a whole lot of absolutely nothing. And it's normal, guys, right? No significant moves on interest rates, no significant moves on the risk on appetite as a whole. So you are pretty much just remaining flat. Price action is very, very, very messy right here. Keep an eye on these two levels, 200 and to the upside, 204.50. Need to get one of these two levels to confirm the trend in either direction. If we get a break to the upside, daily uptrend is confirmed, and then we can finally get some further push on maybe this weekly move higher into a weekly uptrend, start attacking that 210 level. However, if we are to break to the downside here, daily downtrend is in control by the bears, and then we look to the weekly guys to protect these weekly lows, 197.50, lose those, weekly downtrend is back in motion, unfortunately, and then we look to the 193 all the way down to about 190 for further massive support by the bulls. So as of now, guys, just massive indecision on your risk on sector, and you can even see that as expressed by Bitcoin too. Bitcoin just not following the rest of the market right now. Moving on to the Dow Jones. Dow Jones too, right? Dow Jones down about 0.13% today. Bit of a mixed day for the Dow Jones as well. Dow Jones trying to coil up for the eventual trend breakout of these highs. Need to get a close once again above 39,600. I've been saying that for pretty much 2 weeks at this point, and the bulls still have not been able to do it, right? So looking fairly good in terms of your tightness of the price action, looking like it does have a bullish penchant to the move right now as well. So we're going to be continuously on the watch for that breakout. Levels to the downside, however, keep a very close eye. 38,950 to the downside. Break that, guys, and unfortunately, your daily uptrend is lost. And then we look to the weekly, guys, to see if we can protect these lower levels down here at about 38,500, all the way down to about 38,300, an area that proved to be support for the bulls last pretty much end of May into early June for about 4 weeks worth of time. Looking once again for the potential weekly trend recapture by the bulls and just monthly trend continuation in terms of, just reaching the all-time highs once again. So not looking too bad at all. One that we're going to be on the watch for as well, guys, is the VIX. I never bring up this chart, guys, unless we have a potential week that's going to bring in a lot of volatility. And obviously, guys, with our earnings on Friday and CPI on Thursday, that could be a little bit of an event for the VIX right here to maybe gain some levels, maybe looking at maybe the 14 levels. If earnings and CPI are bad, could be recapturing 14, even 15. You see with little spikes that happen right here every now and then. But as of now, guys, volatility is really, really crushed, right? Seemingly sitting right now at about 5-year lows as a whole. So the VIX has really been down as there hasn't been much fear and market uncertainty as of recently. And in my opinion, that should continue until the data, economic data that is, if it ever deteriorates, that is when you're going to see a more extended move on the VIX like we saw back in April, which was triggered by 3 hotter than expected CPI reports in a row. But as of now, the data is good, so the VIX is fairly muted. That being said, guys, let's jump into our crypto because we didn't do crypto yesterday. So let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is trying for the daily trend change. That would be a break to the upside of 58,500. This level right here, we are challenging. You guys can see the 200 daily moving average. We hadn't lost the 200-day moving average, guys, since October on Bitcoin. So it has to be notable to us. And obviously, we're dealing with overhead resistance. This line right here, 58,600, the last line of defense for the bulls for quite some time, which is now going to be above us, acting as resistance. So big move on the horizon for Bitcoin. If they fail this, then the bears do definitely have an attempt to roll this chart over and plunge us into the furtherance of this unfortunate weekly downtrend, maybe down into the 50 weekly moving average, which is about 51,500. A lot of people are calling for this level on Twitter, but it's anybody's guess if it's actually going to get there, right? The other scenario is if ever we break above this, well, daily uptrend is now reset by the bulls, a little bit of resistance up here at 60,300, and it will create a decent amount of space for them to get back in daily uptrending mode and really start reversing some of this weekly damage, guys. We're going to need a heck of a size of a bounce on this weekly to really give us some certainty that the bulls are able to recapture this. The bounce size at least needs to get to about 63, guys. Get me to about 63, and we can talk about the capacity of the bulls to reset the weekly. But as of now, just looking like further consolidation on Bitcoin. I have been buying a little bit of Bitcoin down here in these lower levels, and I will continue to buy even if we come down even to the lower 50,000 range, which seems to be the next likely big area the bulls can find a little bit of support at. You can see that right there. 45 all the way roughly to about 50,000, right? So looking not too bad on Bitcoin. I am still a buyer. Moving on to Ethereum right now. Ethereum also, right? Very, very weak and muted, giving back the entirety of the ETF speculation run up. So very unfortunate for Ethereum. Daily downtrend is now pretty much in motion, right? The bulls have a chance at reversing this if they can close above 3,100. Get us above 3,100. Daily uptrend is underway. And then once again, similar to Bitcoin, we will look at the size of the bounce in relation to the weekly. And the weekly bounce needs to be pretty big as well, guys. Need to get us up at least to 3,380. If we can get up to 3,380, we can talk about the capacity for the bulls to be able to reset into a weekly uptrend. Anything under that, and it's going to look very, very hard for the bulls, especially considering this big previous support zone, which is now resistance, and that's 3,150 up to about 3,330. So scenario like this and furtherance of the tightening range could be possible if ever we were to lose this area and just continue into this massive downtrend motion right there, continue the plunge on the weekly. You guys know I've left this rectangle on the chart for about a year at this point. 2650 down to 2183 is the last line of defense for the bulls. I'd be very, very surprised if we come down all the way as low as 21, but maybe 25, 26 as a max pain level on a very, very big drop could be in the cards, guys. It's crypto. Anything can happen. You guys know those market makers love going for some stop hunting. Now let's move on to our big tech names, shall we? So looking at Apple looking very, very strong here once again today, 0.38% to the upside. No sign of Apple slowing down, even though it is getting into daily overbought conditions right here. 4 hour, we've been in overbought conditions, and the hourly is still relatively okay. So Apple bulls still have some room to move to the upside. Daily uptrend is gorgeous at this point. Look for the loss of the hourly trend. All right, we have not lost the hourly uptrend this entire time that we've been up over this 218 mark, looking very good. This is not a loss of the hourly trend, guys. They never set the lower high into lower low, and the bulls just recaptured it right away. So keep an eye on this 12 EMA, right, and the loss of the hourly time frame, like we just saw on SPY. If that does happen, Apple may be due for a pullback, and Apple has tons of space, guys. Anything above 210, just gonna be looking for that daily higher low for further trend continuation. And even if Apple chooses to take a week or two off, setting a daily downtrend in motion, gonna be looking very good on the weekly. Anything above 207, looking for the weekly higher low for further trend continuation. So Apple looking extremely strong. It's just really tough for me to play any form of continuation up here just because it's run a lot. It's daily overbought. Apple usually doesn't get daily overbought that often, and when it does, it usually does have a little bit of a pullback like we saw all the way over here. So could be expecting a more extended pullback on Apple. And that being said, guys, the valuation at these levels, we did it at 214. The PEG ratio was already at 3.1. So now it's going to be a little bit higher, 5% higher. So it should be sitting at about a 3.2 PEG. That is very expensive, even for Apple, even if it's a very, very solid company, guys. Tough for me to pay these prices for Apple. Now moving on to AMD. AMD looking very strong here today, despite coming down about 1%, really just in consolidation mode, right? Huge rally in the past 4 or 5 days, and now maybe looking to take a little bit off the table. So you can see what happened in the midpoint of the afternoon. We actually lost this 12 EMA, and then we may be looking for the potential lower low, which could signal an hourly downtrend. If we get a break of today's lows, 175, into the tomorrow session, hourly downtrend is underway, and daily consolidation will be underway as well. Keep an eye on the levels below us here, guys. This little area right here, yes, it's one line, but we can actually make it a little bit of a range, right? So we can put another line right here if you want to take all the tops and the wicks, right? So anything between 172 to about 170, this little pocket right here could be a juicy location. Breakout, retest of prior resistance, now going to be newfound support before a maybe potential continuation run all the way to about the 185 is going to be the next big area of resistance for AMD. You can see I can pull this line even all the way back here, and it was pretty much the same thing, right? That 185 really proving challenging for the AMD bulls as a whole. So that is pretty much going to be what I'm going to be looking out for on AMD. Very, very healthy, guys. Tons of space. Anything above 154, looking for that higher low for further trend continuation. I will be playing AMD if we come back back down into this pocket right here. I'm playing it right now. I do have call options on this one, but if we pull back, I will add and maybe add some short puts down here in the mid 160s as well. Looking extremely strong for AMD as a whole. And don't forget, guys, they're coming out with their Ryzen series of chips. The new 9000 series of Ryzen chips are coming out this month. Still no exact defined date, but the company did say they will be rolling them out in the month of July. And we've been getting a few product leaks over the past 2 days, and the chips look very, very good. So this could be another bullish catalyst for AMD prior to their earnings, which is on Tuesday, July the 30th. Moving on to Amazon right now. Amazon also looking fairly decent, even though they have been consolidating here at the top. No real red flags whatsoever, right? So gorgeous daily uptrend has Amazon right now, looking for the potential daily pullback, right? Anything above 193, looking for that daily higher low for the potential push of the new daily uptrend to continue in motion. On the weekly, guys, still a lot of space. Anything above 175, looking for that weekly higher low. That's in the event that Amazon has to take a little bit more of a breather, maybe a daily downtrend in the next few weeks as QQQ pulls back. Perfectly fine, guys. Anything above that 174, looking for the weekly higher low for further trend continuation. One thing's for sure, if we revisit the lower 192 to 190, this little sweet spot right here, retesting all-time high support, previous resistance as support rather, and the 12 EMA on the weekly, that's going to be a juicy breakout retest and run trade opportunity on Amazon, in my humble opinion. Moving on to Google. Google also looking healthy today despite ending flat. Daily uptrend, clear as day for Google right now. So any pullbacks, just going to be looking for a daily higher low. Anything above 183, looking for that daily higher low for further trend continuation. First line of defense right here, prior resistance, current support, and the daily 12 EMA that it's been riding so well ever since the month of April. So a little bit of a breakout, retest, and run could be in the cards for Google. If ever the bears take back too much of this move and set up for the daily downtrend, which we haven't had a daily downtrend pretty much since the end of the month of May, right? So if they ever do set that and choose to pull back a little bit more on the weekly, look at all this space, guys. Anything above 170, 130, looking for a weekly higher low for further trend continuation. Same thing as on Amazon. If we do pull back for any which reason, 182, 180, I'm going to be playing Google for the little retest and run trade to continue the year. Looking very good. Earnings for them Tuesday, 23rd of July. So coming up in about a week and a half. Now moving on to Meta. Meta also not looking too bad either. 0.13% to the downside. Still consolidating after that 5-6% move that we had on Friday. Looking absolutely gorgeous. No problems at all on Meta. Daily uptrend. Just looking for that daily consolidation. Anything above 495 pretty much. Looking for a daily higher low for further trend continuation. And now we're above this previous rectangle, right? This big prior all-time support. Resistance, excuse me. Now coming back into it, using it as support, using this line right here as support right as well, and the 12 EMA right down there. So looking very good for maybe a retest and run past the all-time highs. Resistance point for Meta at this point has to be your 550 psychological level, sitting right up there, not too far away from the current price. And even if we do have a more extended pullback on Meta on the weekly, guys, very healthy weekly uptrend, right? Anything pretty much above 492, just looking for a weekly higher low for further trend continuation. That's why I love this location right here, guys. I can't stress it enough. Pretty much, anywhere 525 down to about 510. Such a solid location to be maybe swing trading a little bit of Meta for that eventual trend continuation. The fundamentals of the company are absolutely beautiful. Moving on to Microsoft. Give me a very quick second. And let's move on. So 1.5% to the downside on Microsoft, but that's okay, guys. Microsoft's been pushing a new all-time high virtually for the last 3 weeks in a row, right? Save for a few days here and there. Been pushing new all-time highs all the time. So now finally a little bit of daily consolidation, guys. You can see that all the time when we lose the hourly time frame. Lose the hourly time frame synonymous with daily consolidation. So at this point, anything above 445.81, looking for that daily higher low for further trend continuation. I'd be looking at the 12 EMA for maybe a first touch. But if ever we fail that after and set up for the daily downtrend, similar to the rest of the big tech guys, so much space on this one. Anything above 405, just looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation. So similar to Amazon and Google setups, if we do pull back into here, let's call it 440, 430, this little pocket, going to be looking for a very juicy breakout, retest, and run past the all-time highs. Going to be a juicy swing trade setup on Microsoft. Nice to see it start a little bit of consolidation after such a extended rally. Moving on to Netflix right now. Netflix, eventually, guys, one of these One of these days, Netflix is just going to blast past the all-time high with the 2-3% day, and nobody is going to be able to tell the difference. The all-time highs are very, very close right now, guys. $697, $700. Very, very close to our current price right now. Only a few percentage away. Would not be surprised if Netflix goes up and taps it prior to their earnings Thursday, 18th of July, guys. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, that is next Thursday, right? It's only about a week and 1 day worth of trading away from Netflix earnings. They are always going to start tech earnings off with a bang, so curious to see what they can do. Price action up to that point, guys, may get a little bit muted. I'm not really expecting Netflix to kind of blast through the all-time highs. Could they touch them and slightly breach above? Yes, but I'm not really expecting a massive blast off before earnings, right? Traders probably waiting for those earnings results. That being said, gorgeous daily uptrend, nothing bad to say at all. Any move lower at the current time, anything above 663.40, going to be looking for a daily higher low for further trend continuation. Your first line of defense, guys, should be this 12 EMA. Look how well it's played defense since their last earnings cycle. So looking pretty good on Netflix, a lot of space to pull back. And if we do fall after, or rather into or after earnings, guys, on the weekly, got to be a little bit careful here because the weekly higher lows are close. 663.85, those are the weekly higher lows. So if ever we were to lose those levels, guys, they lose the weekly uptrend, but they don't set the weekly downtrend. Downtrend would be lower high into lower low. So a more extended pullback, guys, into a larger form area of support could be in the cards if ever earnings are not well received. That larger area of support is about 7 all the way down to about 10% to the downside. This could be the more likely area of pullback after earnings in the event that earnings are not that fantastic for the company. I'm pretty sure earnings are going to be good, but you guys know how it can go, right? The same thing happened last time. Netflix had beautiful earnings, but because they said they were no longer going to report subscriber count in 2025 onwards, the stock had a little bit of a meltdown by about 9%, not warranted at all. So if you get a similar type of sell-off into these lower levels, guys, I will definitely be buying the dip. Now, moving on to NVIDIA. NVIDIA looking strong today, 2.5% to the upside. Gorgeous daily uptrend remains in motion for NVIDIA. Now they're creating a lot of space, guys. Anything above 119.41 when this move is topped out, looking for a daily higher low for further trend continuation. And now we're cleanly above the prior area of resistance, right? Short-term resistance, newfound support, and the daily 12 EMA, this yellow moving average is under us as well. So it could be another little case of just a touch and go for NVIDIA, right? And even if NVIDIA rolls over and sets the daily downtrend right here, we do have a fairly decent area of support below us. That is the 119 down to 115. So still a ways away from that. We will attack that area if we get to it in terms of maybe weekly follow through continuation to a weekly downtrend. But so far, no signs of that at all. Bulls remain in full control of every time frame on NVIDIA. Daily control, weekly control as well, gorgeous continuation of the uptrend potentially, and gorgeous monthly uptrend continuation as well. The only thing that's getting a little bit rich right now is obviously the valuation on NVIDIA. Now moving on to Tesla. So Tesla, once again, another 4% day to the upside, continuously setting new year-to-date highs, right? So looking very, very strong on Tesla now on day pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 days worth of rally in a row, guys. The stock has ran a ton since the lower area of consolidation right here, 184 to about 264, right? Almost $80, which is about 42% in 10 days of trading. Absolute rocket ship. Reminds me of what Tesla was doing not so far ago in the past, right? Last summer, they had a similar rally like this when they came off roughly similar levels, right? Those 170, 180s. And that pushed them all the way up to pretty much 300 to culminate into their earnings at that point, right? So we're pretty much running a eerily similar cycle on Tesla right now. We are attacking the 265, which we pointed out, which is going to be our first level resistance. 265, get through that, guys. Then it's pretty much up to 275, 278, and then all the way to 300. In my opinion, guys, right, earnings are coming up fairly quickly, Tuesday, 23rd of July. So just about a week and a half worth of trading until those earnings. And we can definitely continue this weekly run up, guys. Momentum is very, very strong in this stock right now. A lot of people playing options very, very heavily right now. And it could be a case in point. Tesla can absolutely head potentially into the 280s, 290s, maybe even 300 prior to earnings. And I would not be surprised. I'm not saying it is going to do it, but can it do it? It definitely can, guys. The flip side to that is if ever we start losing momentum, right? Keep a very close eye on your hourly trend. This is what's been keeping this alive for pretty much the last 4 or 5 days of trading at this point. Very close eye on the 1 hour trend, guys. If we were to lose the 1 hour in a significant fashion and lose this 12 EMA on the 1 hour chart, you know that daily consolidation is coming. Where could it pull us back into, guys? I've labeled it on this chart, this green box. 242 down to about 229 is going to be the likely area that we pull back into. Prior area of decent congestion, which is we're now above, that's now going to be acting as support. You really see that area best if you pull it up on the weekly as well, right? A lot of moving average confluence used to be there. Could be a first nice touch area for a support level for the bulls. And obviously your downtrending channel line since last summer is also sitting right there as well. So a lot of confluence in that area that I do like, 12 EMA curling up into it right now. So if we did pull back, guys, that would be pretty much the likely area that we do pull back into, in my humble opinion, before maybe taking another stab at your highs, right? And maybe just continuing this weekly, right? So a little pullback on the daily, right? 2, 3, 4, 5 days of pullback would just make me make a little bit of a wick on a weekly candle and then maybe push a little bit higher as well. Tesla looking extremely, extremely strong. Once again, congratulations to all of your bulls out there. The only little red flag is the 87 on the RSI. But keep in mind, guys, when Tesla goes on these rallies, here's the last time, last July, right? They got all the way to the same level and then they stayed there for about a week's worth of time, week and a half worth of trading, right? Tesla can do these runs into the 80 plus RSIs. And then even, any little pullback, you can see what happened right here, right? Had a nice little pullback from 87, 4 days of trading, and then blasted off the very following 2 weeks for continuation without overbought conditions, So can always be possible for Tesla for some continuation. And now lastly, Palantir, So Palantir looking pretty good. 1.12% to the downside. They finally clipped my area, guys. They finally broke above that $28 resistance, which we have been eyeing, in all fairness, on the channel. We've been pretty much talking about this all year at this point, but this has been your massive area of resistance in the past 2020 and 2021. So very, very likely area that the bulls get rejected there, at least at their first attempt. So that being said, daily uptrend is gorgeous right now. Any pullback going to be looking for a higher low, anything above 24.05, looking for that daily higher low for potential trend continuation. If we do need to get a little bit more momentum, this is probably where the bulls are going to do it. 26.30 down to about 25.20 could be a likely area of pullback. If we pull it up on the weekly, prior weekly resistance should be newfound support for the bulls. On the weekly time frame, a little bit of a pullback and maybe trying to attack that 28 level once again. Palantir looking extremely, extremely good. If we do pull back here, guys, that's going to be an area where I'm going to be looking to play it. Short puts probably around the 25 location. Would not mind being assigned, especially targeting a weekly pullback for further expansion. I will hold on there. So everything looking good in the markets here today, guys. Not much more than that I wanted to cover. Just a couple of swing trades that I'm always looking out for, guys. You guys know I've been playing these aggressively. Visa, 265 or lower, great location to start making a little bit of a swing trade or even a long-term investment. MasterCard, same thesis. Gorgeous monthly uptrend, just coming into some monthly consolidation for the eventual monthly push higher. Looking very strong here, guys, right? Another one that's potentially starting a little bit of a rally, Enphase. If you don't want to buy it right now, going to be maybe looking for a daily higher low to shape up and maybe go for the daily trend continuation here. Could be a decent little opportunity for a little bit of swing trade, but be careful. This one is very, very risky. Another one, SMCI. SMCI looking very good, guys, tightening up. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tightening range on the weekly. And the penchant, the bias is definitely bullish when we talk about semiconductor names. So building a little bit of position. I talked about it last week when we were down here, made a play on it myself. But if we do revisit, maybe these moving averages, anything under 850 down to 800, little pocket for that potential explosion that may be happening down the road. I love this play on SMCI as well, right? And just one more play that I'm looking out for, guys. Chipotle. Chipotle has been one that I played today, heavily pulling back, guys. Chipotle has not lost the 12 weekly EMA since last October, pretty much. Heavy pullback. No real news to speak of the company. Quickly approaching daily oversold conditions, and this is not a stock like Nvidia or Apple. Usually like Nvidia or SMCI, right? They don't stay oversold for that long. When we do get oversold condition, usually it does mark a local temporary bottom. So just maybe looking for that, the bottom end of this range, $56, guys, looking for maybe to get a little bit of a bounce on Chipotle going here. Chipotle is essentially just trying to set some monthly higher lows for further trend continuation. So anything in the mid $50 range, guys, pretty much from here all the way down to 54, 200-day moving average. I really like Chipotle for a little bit of a swing trade as well. And CRM too, right? CRM, decent little play here, guys. Daily uptrend, pulling back into the moving average. I'm targeting this location right here, 245. Give me a little bit of a touch of 245. And I really do think that this weekly trend can continue and push higher on CRM for a little bit of a profit target into the 270s. Those are just a few swing trades, guys, that I'm looking at, guys, but you guys know I have a ton more, right? Vici, continuously adding shares of Vici at these lower levels, mid 26s, looking very strong. CP as well, the railroad, right? They almost have a monopoly, them and Union Pacific, UNP, right? And CN Rail. They pretty much have a monopoly on all logistics and transportation in terms of railways throughout North America at this point, looking very, very poised, guys, for the potential rally. They've been in a tightening range for pretty much the last 3 years at this point, and the fundamentals have only gotten stronger and stronger. In my opinion, just a question of time before they break out. You know what this chart reminds me of? It doesn't look the same, but it feels the same. Costco did this same accumulation pattern for about 2 years worth of time back here, all throughout end of 2021 into early 2023, right? So a year and a half, and then pretty much went on a monster tear because the fundamentals were improving, all while the share price was flat. So those are just a few trade opportunities. Even I wouldn't be so opposed to even starting to play Nike right now, right? Nike bouncing off the 200-month moving average. I never use this EMA on the monthly, right? Nike has never lost this in the history of trading because it takes 200 months is a long time, right, guys? A very long time, right? 15 plus years to a certain point. So now really breaking down Nike, lower 70s, high 60s, guys. These prices, you haven't been able to get them since pretty much 2018 at the lows, right? So time machine prices for Nike, I would not be opposed, even though the company does have its challenges, right? It's failed its direct-to-consumer sales mix revamp that it tried to do. Now it's moving back to wholesalers, basically putting its products through companies like Foot Locker and stuff like that. It's failed in terms of innovation, in terms of its core running segment. The competition is blowing them away in terms of quality versus price. Think Hoka's, think ONON, think Asics, right? A lot of better running shoes for the quality of Nike. And the company just hasn't been doing that tremendously, right? So definitely a turnaround story. Wouldn't be opposed to starting a little bit of a position, guys. Are we expecting this immediate turnaround? No, but building a small position at these lower levels, if you have high conviction in the longevity of the company, which everybody should, it's a legacy brand, right? Eventually, it will improve, but it may just be a slow, drawn out process. You guys know sometimes these things take a lot of time. And there's so many other opportunities left on the table, guys. The ones that I show in my top 5 options plays as well. The ones that you see me swing trading in the portfolio. So I always have you guys. I'm going to try to include more of these swing plays that I'm looking into intra-week on a day-to-day basis whenever I don't do a portfolio update, just to kind of fill in the end of the video time slot, right? So that was pretty much everything I had for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, consider dropping a like. Would really appreciate it for the growth of the channel. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you are new. We do these daily market recaps every Monday through Friday after the close. So hope to see you back in a future date. And obviously, guys, if you have any questions at all, please feel free. You guys know I always answer every single one of your questions. Stock, technical analysis, options trade, macro discussion, anything you guys want, leave it down below in the comments and I'll get back to you usually within the first 24 hours. So take care, guys. Hope you had a great day of trading and hope you have a good day of trading tomorrow as well. I'll see you tomorrow after the close, and peace.